Now, the Mongol invasion is, as I said, well documented on the Japanese side. There are official Hojo accounts of this. And there also are other accounts, one of which, one of my favorites, is the scrolls of Takizaki Suenaga. And what these are basically a series of pictures that were discovered and then assembled at different points into different versions of this same story. These scrolls are depicting the Mongol invasion and the role of this Kyushu samurai Takizaki Suenaga in helping defeat it. It is an illustrated petition for rewards. It is a story that is meant to, of course, elevate the exploits of the man telling it, Takizaki Suenaga. He commissioned this. He presented it to the Hojo and said, boy, I was really great. I deserve a lot of rewards because these are all the wonderful things I did for you defending Japan. And it is visually quite rich, and it provides quite a lot of great evidence into the different into the way that the invasion happened according to the Japanese. One of the best is to highlight, its best aspects is to highlight the different fighting styles of the samurai and the Mongols, where the Mongols tried to fight as units, and the Japanese basically just rode out and tried to claim as many heads as possible. This is a series of pictures. It's accompanied by commentary, quite, as you can see here, quite a lot of information in these scrolls. And you will have a chance to examine it during the next lecture. Basically, what I want you to do for the next lecture is to navigate two digital history exhibits, one of which is an exhibit based on these scrolls, or basically these different versions of this same story. Please enjoy it. It is an absolutely wonderful project put together out of Bowdoin College by Thomas Conlon. Dr. Thomas Conlon, the same expert on this Mongol invasion and one of the experts on early samurai. A page from it, or a passage from it. This is just delightful. It shows you quite a lot. So this is basically an account, part of an account of Takizaki. He says the Mongols are advancing, and somebody said we should, well, let's pick up the story here. As I was about to attack, my retainer, Togenda Sukemitsu, said, more of our men are coming. Wait for reinforcements and get a witness, and then attack. You had to have a witness if you had killed somebody, and especially if you had failed to take their head. You wanted people to see you fighting well, so that when you claim rewards, they say, yes, this person fought very well. But Takizaki said, basically, to hell with that. The way of the bow and arrow is to do what is worthy of reward. Charge. And then the invaders set off, and he's pursuing them, and he gets into a battle with them, and basically all but one of his retainers are unwounded, several men are killed, and he essentially brags about this. Look, I was such a great warrior, I charged after the enemy, didn't even wait for people to wait to see me do it. I think he was actually counting on taking heads and proving that he had indeed killed people. But this was considered great, and this was the invasions were of course defeated, and so this was a victory for the Hojo. But it was a Pyrrhic victory, as our friend Beaver here can attest to, because of a few reasons. First of all, the Hojo could distribute very few rewards. Usually when samurai had fought in the preceding centuries, they had fought other samurai, men who controlled vast resources, or at least something, and whose stuff could be then taken away, his land certainly, could be taken away and given to you, or at least the oversight of it could be given to you, and then you could enjoy the fruits of your victory. But with a foreign invasion, that isn't the way that it happened. The Mongols came, they were thrown back, and they really didn't have very much with them that you could take, and use as rewards for your retainers. That was a problem that the Hojo really faced. They just could not keep their retainers happy by rewarding them in the way that these retainers thought they should be rewarded. Also, it wasn't really clear after 1281 that the Mongols would never return, so the Hojo kept making defensive preparations, which were expensive, and you had to maintain the samurai in Kyushu basically there in order to have them fight if necessary. And all of this fed the growing resentment of the Hojo amongst the samurai, amongst a very wide portion of the samurai, including many of their own retainers, which was very dangerous, and which led to a crisis that led to the fall of the Hojo, which we call the Kenmu Restoration. Restoration is a very powerful word in Japanese history. It refers to the idea that the emperor, who had been controlled by other powers, would now be restored to full power. And this was a very popular idea in the imperial court during the Kamakura period. As we've seen in 1221, Emperor Go-Toba had tried to launch a rebellion and basically carry out one of these restorations. He failed. The next person to try and to succeed a lot more and to certainly have a much greater impact on Japanese history is one of my favorite emperors, Emperor Go-Daigo. Emperor Go-Daigo. And this Kenmu restoration, Kenmu, by the way, is it's a way of keeping time in Japan. There are era names. You don't just have AD and BCE and CE as you do in the Western calendar. There were several occasions upon which a era name would be changed. The imperial court would decide on one, then there was a series of disasters or something, and then the name was changed, or something good would happen, and then the name was changed, or a new emperor would ascend to the throne, and an era name was changed. In many ways, it was a very flexible way of keeping time, and Kenmu happened to be the era name when Go-Daigo launched his restoration. So that's what that's all about. And later the Meiji Restoration, certainly the same way, named after the emperor that launched it. And many events in Japan are known by these era names. But in any case, Emperor Go-Daigo, he became emperor at a time when the power of the imperial court seemed to be at an all-time low. There were two imperial lineages, two imperial families, basically, or not really, two branches of the imperial family of Japan, which had vied for succession. There was a succession dispute, and the Hojo, what they did, they brokered a compromise whereby these two families would alternate, or these two branches of the family would alternate ascending to the throne. This shows you a lot. This shows you that the Hojo could just do this. They could impose their will on the imperial government and tell them, okay, you and your line will now step down, and your rivals will ascend to the throne, but don't worry because your grandson will be emperor once again. This was a compromise, and I think the true definition of a compromise is that it pleases nobody, and by 1234, events came to a bit of a head. 1324. In that year, in 1324, the Hojo refused the demands of then reigning Emperor Go-Daigo to name his son as heir. And Go-Daigo plans to resist this. He is not about to give power over to his rival lineage, and I think we should consider the man. It is very difficult to make real conclusions based on really scanty available evidence. I mean, the evidence is quite good as far as pre-modern societies are concerned, actually, in Japan for most of its history. But still, there are limits to how much you can trust contemporary depictions of what people thought, or even sometimes of what people did. Karl Friday's introduction to his book, which you read for week 1, is a case in point in this, and deals with this time period, with the war surrounding the Kenmu Restoration. But nevertheless, there are some things that we can say about Emperor Go-Daigo. Consider this portrait of him. This is not what a Japanese emperor usually had himself painted as looking like. You would think of the black robes, these flowing black robes. You would not see somebody with a beard. You would think of the very characteristic headdress that comes up like this and then kind of is a cap with kind of a board stuck to the back of it. And there are, this is a very different picture. This is a picture of Go-Daigo dressed in the garb of a Chinese emperor. And why? Well, because in China, the emperors actually ruled. He wanted that for himself. That's how he wanted to be remembered, as an emperor who ruled and who was absolutely superior in prestige and power, and was indeed the son of heaven in a way that no samurai could ever be. There are also continuities with the ways that, or with the iconography of traditional Japanese emperors. This mat that he's sitting on, this colorful embroidery here on the front of this tatami mat, this was a traditional symbol of court rank and power in Japan. The emperor did this. Later on, some very successful samurai would appropriate this as well. This was a symbol of authority. Here, these inscriptions. This inscription says Amaterasu Omikami, which is, or who is, the chief deity of the imperial family of Japan. That's the sun goddess. Very, very storied, great figure in the foundation myths of Japan, and apparently the imperial family of Japan is actually descended from a goddess. That's the goddess. There's also a reference to Kasuga Taisha. This is the temple of the Fujiwara family, that traditional courtly family which provided the regency for the imperial family of Japan, and is very prestigious still. So he borrows their prestige for this. And there's also here reference to Hachiman, the god of war, because he is now taking that power back from the samurai. Go-Daigo is putting that in his hands. Well, he tried. He plots to not step down, essentially, to have military backing, to have some samurai backing for this, and no one can keep a secret in the pre-modern period. As often happens, the plot is discovered, and in 1331, Go-Daigo again tries to rebel. This time he actually launches an uprising, but he's quickly subdued. He's exiled to Oki Island in the Japan Sea, one of those islands that is very, very far away from anything happening in Japan. People think it's easy to keep an eye on him, but in 1333, Go-Daigo escapes. He travels to Kyoto. He raises a new rebellion. And this rebellion, the Kamakura shogunate, the Hojo, could not basically cut off at the knees, so they send out two big armies, commanded by two of their top vassals, Ashikaga Takauji and Nita Yoshisada. And these armies are sent west to Kyoto to crush the Kenmu Restoration and to deal with Go-Daigo once and for all.